This is a Lake Street view. They're tearing down the Saxony here on this January 23rd, 1989. However, just the front part will be torn down. The four-story building you see in the background will not be torn down. The three-story building damaged in a fire several years ago, being demolished. We are back now on the Champlain Street view. The front part of the Saxony being taken away one truckload at a time. The Saxony is a favorite night spot for area young people for more years than I can recall. I first started coming here when the Triads bought the place in the late summer of 1966. It was owned then by the present owner, Mark Chapman, and his two partners, Willie Whittle and Rick Spinella. They had a rock group known as the Triads. They purchased this from Bill Kirk, and Thursday evenings through Sundays it was the place to be. People from Montreal, Burlington, all over the North Country, this area, gathered here primarily on Friday and Saturdays. Thursday was usually the local crowd, and Sunday was a smaller mix. Fridays and Saturdays it was jam-packed, and sometimes you were unable to get in because the place was filled to capacity. This part here was their kitchen, the pizza place. The entry was over here somewhere. The part that's being torn down is not the part where the band played. It's the front bar and a pool area, pool table area, and apartments upstairs. And it was the apartments upstairs that caused this fire. Arson was the reason. As you can see, there's still a lot of the Saxony remaining, although this front part is being torn down. Located on the corner of Champlain and Lake Street. A prime piece of real estate here in the village of Rouses Point. We're standing in the Saxony parking lot at the moment. Emerson Grimshaw here to get a load. We're on the Lake Street side of the Saxony once again.
You're watching What's Going On here. I'm Bob Zen, and our focus today is going to be on the Saxony Hotel. Not as much as a hotel, but primarily we're going to be talking with Mark Chapman and the Saxony Recording Studio. But before we do, we'd like to give a little update on the history of the Saxony Hotel, that very important building on the main corner in Rouses Point. I would say the most busy corner. Of course, again, we have with us Peg Barcombe, our town historian, and she's going to bring us up to date up until the time of the fire that destroyed the front part of that hotel. And Peg, nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
So we're going to, you remember obviously the Saxony and before,
yes.
right?
Oh, yes.
Having been born and raised in Rouses Point, huh?
Well, we'll start with we start with the Saxony, but we're going to start with the old stone store across the street from the Saxony. Now, you'll know why as we go along. This was built in 1816 by two men called Roden and Webb. And they advertised themselves as commission merchants and forwarding agents. The store was very, very busy, busiest place in Rouses Point, because of course Rouses Point started uptown. There was no downtown, and all the business was up there. They had a hoist in the back of this store where the boats would come in, and they would hoist. There's a great big wheel up in the top of there. It's still there, beautiful big wooden wheel, and they would hoist the merchandise up onto the second floor through the from the hoist. Then it would come out through the front door. Again, there was a big door in the front. You see on the second floor.
Okay,
there's a wide
this
door.
is the front right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they would unload it from the back and then pass it back down through from the front. Well, this was all going on while they were building the first fort. They were doing a land office business. They had 25 employees there
In this building?
in that building. So at that time, that was a real lot of people to have hired.
Now, Peggy, you say downtown and uptown. Where do you mean? The downtown is the village as we know it today?
As we know it today.
And this would be uptown?
This was uptown where the village started. And when it went downtown, it was because of the railroad. When the railroad come in, there was a post office uptown and a post office downtown.
I was going to say, was there another name for this area of the Rouses Point?
Yes, Hoyleton.
That was Hoyleton.
That was Hoyleton. But when they put the post office, the name Hoyleton only lasted 1 year. As far as the post office was concerned, they had the postmark and all saying Hoyleton. But that lasted only 1 year. There was a big controversy over the post offices. The downtown people wanted it there, and the uptown people wanted it there. And there's a long story, a court battle and all with the post offices. And downtown won. So the post office went downtown and stayed there.
Now, the name Hoyle, it was Hoyle, H-O-Y-L-E, with a T-O-W-N to it. Hoyle was a family in Champlain,
Yes.
the village of Champlain, or the Champlain area. And I think there was a Nellie Hoyle that was in town, and probably a relative of that family way back.
Hoyleton got its name through him, but he was a big shot on the railroad. So he had some influence too to get it named that.
And then when the railroad got there, he lost his town name and went back into Rouses Point.
They called it, they couldn't have two Rouses Points, and they put the post office down there, so it became all Rouses Point. But it started, the village really started uptown. So in 1818, this Mr. Roden that with Webb built this building, sold out to Webb. But then they stopped the work on the fort. And when they stopped the work on the fort, of course, his business started to slide because he had all this merchandise and nowhere to get rid of it. But he stayed on anyway, and in 1846, William Crook and this Mr. Webb's son, Nathan Webb Jr., bought the store. And so it stayed out as Webb and Crook, and then Crook bought out Webb. And then altogether, Mr. Crook was there for 50 years in that building.
As a store?
As a store. And then he moved downtown and started another building.
Now, if you're heading down Route 11 and you come to Route 9B, when you come to where you're going to turn left or right at Rouses Point, you'll run into the lake. Right straight ahead of you is this stone building still sitting there. Hasn't been used for years and years now.
Quite a few years, yeah. So the last grocery store that was in there was a Midi LaValle. Now, why Midi? I don't know if that was his real name or nickname, but it's listed as Midi LaValle. Now, he'd take your orders, your grocery orders. He'd come around and get your order. And then in the morning and in the afternoon, he'd come back and deliver your order of groceries to you.
Not like that today, is it?
But he was the last one to have a grocery in there. Then it closed. And then the next owner was Ellick Laundrie Sr., and I believe that is when he bought it. He had a gas station there, and he had a pool room. And that was the local hangout for all the men that liked to play pool, and he had the gas station too. Then after that, some years after that, Earl Jarvis from Albert ran it as a laundromat. And then young Ellick Laundrie, who had the gas station next to this building, ran it as the laundromat. And then it closed, and
that gas station is closed
ever
now.
since.
That was a Shell station,
yeah.
I believe, back then, and that's also closed now. That's right across from Racine's garage on the corner.
Yeah, and Dot Laundrie, Dot Malloy, still owns it today. But I would love to, I've always been my dream, I'd love to see that turn into a museum.
I'm sure. What a place for Rouses
Like
Point.
if it could be offices or something downstairs and then a museum upstairs, the offices would pay the expense.
Absolutely.
I heard once something about them demolishing it, and I had a fit.
Yes,
Oh, we
yeah.
got to preserve that building.
You're talking 170 plus years, you know.
And it's in such good shape. I mean, even if the inside is not too good, the outside is still so good. So that's the what I would like to see done with that. Now we start in with the Saxony part. The man Webb that owned this, his house sat where the Saxony burned, where it was that brick part. That's where Mr. Webb's house was, and he owned this. So that's how it ties in. It was all the same piece of property. Now, we always knew it as the Windsor. When I was young, of course, that was the Windsor.
The Saxony
Yeah,
Hotel.
then we know it now as the Saxony. But now, that was built by John Angel, and he built it in 1832. And that's the way it looked. You can see it's just, there's no buildings around, there's no street, there's nothing.
Trees behind
But
and on the side.
so this was 1832 he built this, and he got the brick from England. He had the brick imported from England. Of course, it's been stuccoed over, so it doesn't look like it's brick, but it was brick. He built two other houses, Frank Woodward's house at the end of Smith Street, and Billy Letourneau's house on Lake Street are two others that this John
That's that
Angel
stone,
built.
just as you leave the
Yes,
community.
yes, that's the two that,
Lake Street here is right this way, and the porch obviously is on Lake Street, the main street, and then right alongside it, if we turned right, you'd head in toward Champlain, Route 11.
now about 20 years later, he added the wooden additions were all put on, and in the wooden additions, the servants' quarters and the bar and the laundry and these sort of things. But that was put on 20 years later, so even that wooden part really goes back.
It's over 150
Yeah,
years.
that's there
this was
yet.
built as such.
So then in 1901, T.M. Leonard owned that building. Now what year he bought it, I'm not sure. But I know in 1901 he owned it. And he advertised it as the Windsor. And it was a summer resort. Now, it was real wealthy people that came to stay at that resort. They would come and stay the whole summer. Some would even bring their maids with them. And but it was a classy hotel, so as you know.
Calvin is panning these pictures in the front. There's 4 views of over the period of time that building has been different things, and I'm holding the picture that Peggy's talking about, the people on the front porch here at the, and this is about when, Peg, this picture? You have any idea?
Well, he bought it, or he had it in 1901, so it's early 1900s. So these people, as I say, they were there most of the season. They would come and stay because it was only open in the summer. It was not, in the winter, that was always closed. It was just a summer. And he had this boat, someone will shoot me, it's a yacht, called the Coquette. And this belonged to Mr. Leonard. And every morning, it would take his patrons to Burlington to shop if they wanted to go.
Every day?
Every day. And then bring them back at night. But this was, so he did everything to keep the people here, and of course that's how he stayed in business. And in the back there was a garage, and they stored the people's cars at night. They had repairmen that could service them, and Mr. Leonard walked with a cane. Everybody liked him. And if a man was working under the car, he'd come up and tap his feet with his cane, you know. But everyone that knew him said he was a very, very nice person, that everyone liked him very much.
Peg, isn't there a building as you head south below the Saxony that was known as the Leonard Estate, or that, oh, you're going to come to that? All right.
Now, another thing he did for the village of Rouses Point, he offered to give them 24 street lamps, providing they would be cared for and lit at night. So the village accepted them, but they made a law that they could not be lit on moonlight nights. They had to go without that because it cost money for the lamplighter to light these lights.
You make sure you
lights.
explain it. It's not just throwing a switch
No.
at these things.
Gas lights, and they had a lamplighter who got paid 50 cents a night to
Oh,
light
yeah.
all the lamps. And he had to clean the chimneys and light these lamps. And so Mr. Leonard said he would give the 24 lights providing they could be lit. So he agreed then when they said, well, all right, except on moonlight nights. So on moonlight nights, there was no street lights. It was done that way. But now, talking, this was Mr. Leonard that owned the Windsor. This was his home.
But Calvin has the camera. Can you see that all right, Calvin, from where you are over the top of the other pictures?
And that was built in 1882. And that was his home.
And where was that located?
Right where this one is. This is his son's.
Okay, now we're talking. Let me...
When old Mr. Leonard died, the son, Harry T., his wife didn't like that old house. So he tore it down and he built this one in 1928. And it was dubbed the $1 Million Bungalow. But that was the son's home.
This is the home as we know it in Rouses Point today.
Yes, yeah.
Just below the nursing home. And this is the house that was there before this one was built there at the location.
Yeah.
All right.
So now back to the Saxony. Well, that was heated with gas. Mr. Leonard heated that with gas. And then there was, he had a park. Now this is, you can show different three of them as you go along. There was a gazebo, and there was flowers, and there was alligators. He had a tank with 2 alligators, and at one time one of the alligators got loose, and but they got it back. And so where Racine's garage is where this park was.
That's where the gazebo is, right where the garage is now.
Where the garage is now.
Very, very interesting thing. Obviously, we mentioned before, we're not rehearsed. I have not seen any of these pictures, so I'm very anxious to look at this picture myself. I'm looking at them sideways here, and was there a street through there at all at that time? Do you know? I can't tell.
Not a street for cars as such.
Okay,
no,
so when you was right directly onto the park on the side.
Yes, this was
like
all his piece of property.
This is the, you can see the trees here right over toward this park, and here they are here. And that's right across from the original stone building we showed you way back, starting in 1816. It's a very important corner in the history of Rouses Point, and still is. Now
the one in your hand, that one is, there was a cannon across the road where the little gas station is still today, Ellick Laundry's small gas station. Well, this belonged to Mr. Leonard too, and it was setting there just as a display, facing towards the lake. Now, if that was a cannon from the fort, I have no idea. And where it went, I have no idea. But a lot of the cannons that were at the fort were bought up and went to Fort Ticonderoga. So this could be one of the ones that's down there. I don't know if it was or not.
This is right directly, I would assume that or is that right where the
that's right where that little
service station is now?
Right there.
Right here
right
on
in that area. Yeah.
And you can see Crawford say there's no bridge on the other side of the road either.
And at that hotel, of course, on weekends, that was a big dances every weekend with big bands and so on. And of course, he rented the dance hall. I can remember hearing them tell that the Rouses Point Rod and Gun Club, when they first organized, they used to rent the hall and hold dances there. And of course, dancing was the big thing. You know, that's what everybody did. There wasn't any television or any of that, so everybody went dancing.
Yeah, Alec Gosler has told me about some of the big bands that have stopped here on the way to Montreal. Yeah. And some very big names.
And in 1890, there was a Johnson's Orchestra from Montreal that played there. And at that time, they were known everywhere, New York and everywhere where they played. And they played there. And Tommy Dorsey has been there. And the Kirks brought in Charlie Spivak. So that's just some of the ones that, so they did have real good bands that were here. Now, this is some of the servants that work at the Windsor. I don't know who they are. Maybe some of them are still living, some of those ladies, and still around. I don't know, but I do know that's who they are. They're servants that were there that worked for Mr. Leonard. Now, of course, as I said, it was only open in the summer. So a lot of times they would get a proprietor, and the following year he was somewhere else, so he didn't come back. So just a few of the ones that I've been able to find. In 1894 there was a Mr. Howe. In 1897 it was Kuhn and Harrigan. Now these were the proprietors that just worked. In 1900 it was D.A. Houston. So just in that short time there was a lot of managers. So then in 1908 J.B. Mayu bought that, and he ran it for 8 years. So then Mr. Leonard was out of it. But Mr. Mayo bought it, he ran it himself. So he was his own proprietor. And at that same time, when Mr. Mayo bought it, this was the IOOF building, which was right south of the Stone store, and again, part of the property. So he bought this building here. I only see the ruins, but it was not ruins when he bought it. He bought this and the Stone store for $400. I don't know what he paid for the hotel, but this, he bought the Stone store and this when he bought the hotel.
Now this would be approximately where the log cabin motel is now? Probably
right there,
in that area?
Right there, yeah. Now this is just another thing of interest. It's an IOOF, one of their badges that they wore, like for funerals and things. Each member wore one of these badges. Now that IOOF started in Rouses Point in 1845, so it was there quite a few years.
And you said that IOF means?
Independent Order of Foresters. And they built this brick building that you see, and that was their lodge hall. So then when Mr. Mayo bought it, he tore that down. So that's, we see the ruins, but I don't have a picture before it was started to be tore down. But he thought it interfered with the view from the Windsor steps. So he demolished that and took that out of there.
So basically they were right on the lake. The road was there, but there wasn't that much traffic going by.
No, it was just, so there wasn't enough of that. So now in the hotel, when Mr. Mayo bought it, there was one bathroom on each floor. So all the patrons had to use one bathroom for the floor. So he put in a few more. So but that was kind of an interesting, at a hotel that size, with one bathroom on each floor. Then at the end of around in 1920, Mr. Mayo sold it. And he sold it to some men from Montreal. And so they hired this Joe Guyette as the proprietor for them. Now, he named it the Columbia. Now, I don't have a picture of the Columbia, but I have a picture of the dining room.
The dining room as when the Columbia?
When it was the Columbia, and it says so on the bottom. And I located this. Now, this is it's just, these are the kind of things I collect, anything that mentions what it was or where it was. And this is a room tag, the key would have been hung on here, for the Columbia Hotel.
Your key went on here.
Yeah,
and
when you rented a room, this is what you got, and you turned it in when you left. But it was the Columbia only 1 year, so I don't think there's very many of those hanging around.
And when you something happens to it, you throw it into the mailbox, right?
It
and
says
it'll
on
be
the end,
re-delivered back to you.
Drop it to the in the mailbox. So after it was the
Columbia now?
Yeah, it was the Columbia. It went back, like Mr. Leonard had. It went back to Windsor again. Apparently, people were so used to hearing that called the Windsor that the Columbia just, they didn't go. They didn't think it was the same place. And the Windsor was so renowned that they thought, well, it's better we go back. So they went back to the Windsor. And then it stayed Windsor. So then it was closed for a long time. And J.B. Stearns, who was a local attorney in Rouses Point, bought it at a foreclosure sale. And at that time, it belonged to John Judge in Plattsburgh. And he paid $14,000 for the whole hotel and the grounds and the whole bit. That's all he paid for it. So he again hired this Joe Guyette as proprietor for him. And Mr. Guyette had been manager at the Holland House. And when the second fire at the Holland House in 1920, he went up to work the Windsor for Mr. Leonard. So he had always been a hotel man, and he'd always worked from one hotel to another. So he had been there. So he was proprietor in 1938. And in 1938, he dropped dead in the lobby of the hotel up at the Windsor. So then the next owners was Tommy and Nellie Chevalier, and they're the ones that put on the Log Cabin Motel, which is, as you said, just across the street.
Okay, that made it as part of the Windsor, so to speak.
Yes, that was part of theirs, of their property, and so that's how that got started. So then it went to Bill Kirk. Bill and Barbara Kirk bought it in 1949. The Chevaliers kept it open. It wasn't, closed down for years like it had been in years before. So then Bill and Barbara Kirk bought it in 1949, and they brought back the big bands because there'd been a lag there where there hadn't been two popular bands or anything. It sort of died down. And they brought the big bands back, and they're the ones that brought Charlie Spivak as one of their first people that they had at that hotel. So they kept it going until 1966, and they are the ones that called it the Saxony.
Okay, that's where the Saxony comes in.
Yes. So then in 1966, when they gave it up, Mark Chapman was one of the new owners that came in and started it up again. And of course, then from there, it went to the tragic fire, $250,000 damage in the winter of 1984. And so then in 1989, the rubble and the rest of the old Windsor Hotel was no more.
Right. But we'll take a short break and we'll get the pictures together and show you some of the shots of the fire in 1984. And I want to remind you, you're watching What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn, and very pleased to welcome again Peg Barcombe, the historian for the town of Champlain and former historian in the village of Rouses Point, and who is a collector of Rouses Point memorabilia. Anything that says Rouses Point on it. If you have something, you want to donate it, or you feel that you want to get a little bit of something for it, call Peg Barcombe. In the phone book in Rouses Point, it says Alice, quotation in parentheses, Peg Barcombe, 297-2515. Give her a call. She'll be very pleased to hear from you. Just call and talk to her. She loves to talk to people. To remind you, if you've been away, we may have had a commercial here. We're sitting with Peg Barcombe. What's going on here? Bob Venn, and in front of us, we have the pictures that, Peg, you took these pictures?
Yeah.
Of the Saxony during the fire and just after the disastrous fire of 1984, I think you mentioned, right?
And the last two is the demolition, which was in 1989.
Right, and today there is no hotel as such.
No.
But Mark Chapman does have his recording studio there. And Peg brought in for us a St. Patrick's choir. St. Patrick's sings a record right here that recorded by the Saxony Recording Studio, Rouses Point, New York, engineered by Mark C. Chapman, December 16, 1980. Organ, compliments of Herman and Jean Joubert. And lo and behold, who do you think walked in the door just as we were taking our break? She'll just move right over next to me here. Look at who is the director of this great St. Patrick's Choir, Ruth Letourneau. Welcome, Ruth.
Well, hello, Bob.
She's dumbfounded. She said, I don't think I'm going to do a good job on there. You're going to do a great job.
No, indeed. I'm much better at waving my hand
Well,
than I am
you,
at being
look,
vocal
just
anyway.
wave as you talk to me, and it'll keep the time as you talk. Tell us, how did this happen? How did you get a recording?
Well, you know, in retrospect, it's difficult for me to think how it all happened, except that I think in any group you almost reach a point where you peak. And I had a marvelous four-part choir at that time. Today we have a problem with tenors and basses being in short supply. So we have to do mostly two-part harmony on anything that we do. But at that point in time, we did have a full choir, and I was very proud of it. We wanted to do something that would be sort of lasting. I think it was a very ambitious thing on our part, and I had the temerity to do anything like it. But we did it, and it was a lot of fun, and I do believe it was probably one of the first things that Mark Chapman did. Certainly the first record that he ever made.
10 years ago, you know.
Oh, it was, I guess it was.
10 years ago.
10 years.
Well, December 16, 1980, Ruth.
Time flies.
You know,
Having fun.
I swear that people will not believe how this is not, as we know, not rehearsed. By our mistakes here, you'll know. But to have someone walk in like this, as we're just getting ready to talk about him, reminds me when we did the county historian trip in Plattsburgh, and I was going to talk about Rodney Ralston's guns that he had loaned and who walks in the door as I'm talking is Rodney Ralston, and we got him on TV just as we did you.
Funny?
And Ruth, everyone who watches Hometown Cable has seen your group perform every time on TV. You know, I mean, when you have your July 4th and all your celebrations, and they've seen you in the parades, and what a great group you have.
They're a wonderful, wonderful group of people. They practically, I would say that 85% of the people that started out originally with us are still with us, and they're more like family. They're very caring one for the other, and they're just wonderful.
I'd like to
people.
vouch for that as to how wonderful they are. When we had the Rouse reunion in '88 and you were in California,
Yes.
I think it was like 95 degrees in that school.
Yes, and they were,
And they came and put on that concert for a whole hour.
Oh, yeah. It was
Actually,
hot.
they did 2 concerts back to back.
Yes.
And I think the thing that would attest to the humidity and the temperature, there were pools of water where Mitch was standing.
Yes.
Because he took my place as director
Yes,
at that
and
time.
his clothes, you could see his shirt was wringing
Oh, I
wet,
know.
but they never faltered, and they did a beautiful job.
As good as they are, they said to me, don't ever place us in that position.
Well, that was real bad. It was so hot in there. It was terrible.
And
It was
of
a
course,
terrible.
Bob was running around with that heavy
The
camera.
heavy camera. I finally went outside, took some through a window. It was. Oh yes, I
saw
took.
that.
Yes, I did. I absolutely did, Ruth. And let me just take a second here. The back of this record, there's a picture of the group and of Monsignor Farmer, dedicated to the memory of the Reverend Monsignor Robert A. Farmer, pastor, 1973-1979, and with grateful appreciation to Reverend Albert Giroux, the pastor.
Yes, he had a lot to do with our, of course, we had to sell the records to make the money to do that, so Father made us a little loan, even though I was in the banking business at that time. We went the other route, but it didn't take us
You
long.
know, I was going to mention, as happy as you used to look in the bank and you enjoyed your job, you look even happier when you're leading this group, Ruth. You really do. It's something you really enjoy, don't you?
Well, I can't, it's my life, I guess.
Well, in 1980, let me just take a minute, the choir members, Margaret Aubry, Sandy Barcombe, Ann Batchelor, Fran Boyden, Joan Bilo, Kathy Coulombe, Ruth Fitzgerald, Anita Grinter, Peggy Huckrow, Christopher Huckrow, Terry Penfield, Melissa Penfield, Julie Plant, Nicole Racine, Karen Sutton, Helen Weatherby, Jenny Demers, Shirley Dubuque, B. Jefferson, Dottie Lake, God, there's a lot of them, Josette LeBlanc. Go ahead, help me out here. Rita LeBlanc.
There's Rita LeBlanc, Jenny McDonough, Louise Ryan, Arnie Beale, would you believe I had forgotten that he was with us for a short time. Al Colon, George Dion, Dan Dubuque, Bob Lake, Joe McDonough, John Pollock, Jim Rochester, Doc Weatherby, Mitch Willett. And then we have some associate members who were with us from time to time, Ken Perry, Edward Cable, and Mary Van Splinter.
The organist, Kelly Penfield, and of course, with us today, the director, Ruth Alwaterno, and what a great surprise, Ruth, and I'm sorry I pounced on you when you came in, but you've done a great job, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Speaking of a great job, don't quit.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll just take a break and get right back to you. We're going to be moving now. I'm going to be going over to the former Saxony Hotel and be talking with Mark Chapman. We're going to watch a recording in his studio. There's a band there, we understand, from St. Albans, and Peg is holding the record that we were very pleased that she brought, and what a surprise to see Ruth Letourneau here, and what a great addition to our show this morning. I checked with Ruth, and there are no more of these available for sale. It's too bad because it's a great record, but when you see Ruth Letourneau, thank her for all the time she puts in with this orchestra and all the members who play in, not an orchestra, but the choir. They do a great job. And Peg, I want to thank you again for preparing with a great background for our recording studio at the Saxony and giving us that history, which will be part of the records now. As people record these, it'll be part of our record.
Well, you're welcome, and I enjoy it.
Well, I know you do, and again, don't forget, if you've got something that says Rouses Point on it, contact Peg. Even if you don't want to get rid of it, she'd love to see it, and she'll know it exists, and can look for another one, right?
Yes.
And before we go on this tape, Calvin's going to show you a few shots that he has of the Saxony building, the original building being torn down in 1989 that he had made copies of. And thanks very much for tuning in to what's going on here. It's on every Sunday night at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 1 a.m. in the morning, on Monday, and again at 9 a.m. on Monday in the morning. And every night there's a show on at those same hours, 5, 8, 1 a.m. and 9, something that Hometown Cable has done for you. Calvin, of course, is behind the camera again, and he and Sam are taking things throughout the northern tier and now in Plattsburgh. And if you enjoy them, tell Calvin and call Hometown Cable. It's 298-HOME. We'll be back.
But we're going to run music.
While we are watching the scenes of the hotel being torn down in 1989, we're going to run some sounds from this record here. Some of the records that was done by the choir from St. Patrick's. It'll be part of that tearing down. It'll be two things: listen and watch pictures that have no connection at all with each other, except that it's part of that history of the Saxony and of Rouses Point.
Hi, don't adjust your sets. This is Calvin Castine. We have Bob Venn on the other side of the camera right now, holding the camera very, very briefly, so don't leave us. Bob will be back with the microphone in a moment. But I wanted to be in on this particular picture because 24 years ago, this happens to be this weekend that we're taping this on a Thursday, and we're here on a Thursday. Mark Chapman and I were both here for different reasons. This is Mark Chapman, the owner of the Saxony, and back then he was one of the three owners, the Triads. And that summer of '66, a lot of us who were youngsters at that time, relatively speaking, were going on Thursday nights to a place down the road a ways called the Beaumart, where the band called the Falcons were playing. And we heard stories that this place here would be reopening soon, and a new band from Burlington was going to be taken over called the Triads. And the first weekend that we came here was on, like I said, a Thursday. And for those of us who came, it was a non-stop trip. Every weekend, this is where we spent our time. And Bob's going to come over here now and talk to Mark Chapman and find out a little bit of the history of the Triads and the Saxony from 1966 to the present day and what the future might hold.
You're looking at the stone building directly across from what the Saxony Hotel premises that Peg showed us earlier in the interview at the town garage. That was built in 1816 and was a store for, I guess, 100 years or more. And we are standing here on the corner of Lake Street and Champlain Street here in Rouses Point, and our guest of honor for today is Mark Chapman. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how you doing?
And thank you very much for consenting to be with us. Sure. There's an awful lot of noise behind us with the trucks, and we're going to get that, but we have the mic right here. We should be all right. Mark Chapman. How do you spell Mark?
M-A-R-C.
With a C, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Mark, tell us a little bit of Mark Chapman. How long have you been in Rouses Point?
I've been here since September of 1966.
Okay, most people will probably know about Mark Chapman since '66, but what about Mark Chapman before 1966? Where were you from? What did you do?
I'm from Burlington, Vermont originally. I went to Burlington High School and used to come up here to Rouses Point back in high school days to see rock and roll bands up here at the Saxony, as a matter of fact. And that's how I came to know Rouses Point.
Okay, now, and when you got out of high school, what happened to you?
When I got out of high school, I joined a group called the Thunderbolts in Burlington, Vermont.
Music way back there yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What instrument?
I played drums.
Oh, you're in the drummer, huh?
Yeah.
Gene Krupa?
Well, I don't know about that.
And did you do that when you were in high school also?
Yes, I did.
Did you play in the band when you were in high school?
Yeah, I played in the high school band.
So you were right in the beginning with the rock and roll?
Yeah.
Right from the beginning, huh?
Yeah, the early days.
All right, so then tell us about when you got out of school. What bands? The Thunderbolts?
Yes, well, when I got out of high school, I went to college at Johnson State College, and the Beatles first came on at Sullivan Show.
Okay.
And these friends of mine, the Thunderbolts, got a hold of me because they had lost their drummer, and they wanted a new drummer in the band to join them, to take his place. So they came up to school and talked to me, and I really leaned toward the music business a lot more than I was into going to school, so I decided to quit and join the band. I got the bug where the Beatles went on the Sullivan Show.
You thought you wanted to get on the Sullivan Show?
Yeah.
You'd love it, eh?
Yeah.
But they only took a picture of you from the waist up, though, right?
That's
when
right.
you were there.
Yeah.
I guess with a drummer, that's all they ever get of you anyway, sitting on your little seat back there. Mark, was Johnson State 4 years or 2?
4 years.
It is a 4-year college. Nice little college. I've been over in Johnson. It's a nice little community.
It is.
It's very small, but it's very nice. It must be all college.
Yeah, it is pretty much a college.
Okay, so you were with the Thunderbolts for how long?
Well, I was with them until 1965. We did get on the Ed Sullivan Show as a band.
You did?
Yes.
So did you travel throughout the East? Or?
Well, we mostly the East Coast. Yeah, we played in. We started out in Quebec City, and then we played in Montreal for at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, and then from there we went to the Latin Quarter in New York City.
You were good.
Well, we were lucky.
You were lucky? Oh, come on, you were lucky. All right, so how many in your band?
There was 5 at the time.
5, yeah?
Yeah, there was 5 in the band there.
What's the story about traveling like that? That's not all fun, is it, traveling like that?
Not really.
Huh?
Living in hotel rooms can really be pretty depressing sometimes, you know, because you don't get out see things as much as you'd like to.
Was there anybody in the band that was married at the time?
Yes, there was. Jim Ricker, the bass player of the band, was
Does that make it tough when you're traveling? Did the wife travel with you? Or?
No, she didn't travel with us at the time, and it does make it hard.
Who was in that original band? You remember? Can you give us the name?
Bobby Levine, Jim Ricker, Marshall Blaze, Al Roberts, and myself.
All right. And you did travel, and you were on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Mm-hmm. Christmas of '65.
As the band, or were you with another?
We were backing up a girl singer from Montreal. Her name was Sandu Scott, and the name of the band was Sandu Scott and the Scotties. And
yeah. Big Thrill?
Yes, it was. Yes, we met Ed Sullivan, and he was a real nice person.
Did I tell you that Ed Sullivan was my uncle? He's the one who taught me this?
Really?
No, I'm lying. But let me ask you, you're more relaxing. We're going to maybe 2,800 homes this is going to get into, not the millions that Ed Sullivan. But, and oh, by the way, your retainer, the money you get here won't be as good as it was on the Ed Sullivan either.
That's all right.
All right. So from the Thunderbolt, you said?
Right, in 65.
Then what? Okay, in 65?
We broke up in 1965, and I bought some property in Essex Junction, Vermont, and that's where I met Bill Kirk. Was in Essex Junction, and I started putting another band together then called the Triads, our 3-piece band. And it was Willie Whittle was a guitar player, Rick Spinello was a bass player, and myself.
I remember the name Rick Spinella. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that name here. I'm not a rock and roller, but what would cause a band like the Thunderbolts to break up? Was that dissatisfaction? Just you've had it?
Basically what happened is we came home and we lost one of the members of the band, and so we reformed as a trio. We actually lost 2 members of the band. We reformed as a trio, and we tried to stint at recording for a while, and we had some bad breaks with recording as far as auditioning goes, and we decided to give up on it.
Did you make records?
Yes, we did. We made a couple of records.
All right. And how many years did you have? Were you in that band?
I was in the band for actually the Thunderbolts for 1.5 years.
You look back at that with a lot of happiness? You enjoyed
Yes,
that
I
time?
did. It was
a learning experience?
Very interesting time. When we went to New York City, I enjoyed that a lot.
Mm-hmm. So then you met Bill Kirk, who I think owned the hotel at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
He and Barbara, his wife,
Right.
owned the hotel. Did you play here for them?
No, we hadn't. I'd come up to see a lot of bands that did play here, but we actually didn't play here until after we bought the hotel.
So the Triads bought the hotel as a
Right.
group, the 3 of you?
The 3 of us bought it.
Spinola and yourself and the
Willie Whittle.
Willie Whittle. All right. And then you continue to operate as a hotel. Were you renting rooms?
No, we weren't. We had apartments in this building here.
Okay, and this is the original building right here. And where was the dance hall? Back
Right
downstairs in that area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what was in this front part? The actual...
Well, in this area over here was like a pool room area, and game room. We had pinball machines, and then the other part in there was where the bar was.
Okay.
There was a kitchen over here and dining room in this area.
Did you serve meals?
Yes, we did.
I know. And did you have the pizza? Was that when you had it?
That was my wife.
That was your wife that had it. All right, now, when you watch this tape later, you will see we've talked to Peg Barcombe, and she gave us a lot of dates, and some of these dates you were asking earlier you may not be familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the original hotel ended right behind that brick wall right there, and then that was added a few years later. The
other building,
the wood building was added later, she told us, and this was a beautiful porch that we're standing on right now here, and she has a picture with maybe 30 people on it. Oh yeah, they're all looking out here across this lake. The log cabin motel and house was not there, and it's very, very, and that garage across was not there, and this was not there. As a matter of fact, there's one picture shows that right where those pumps are, there was a gazebo.
That's
and,
right.
And they had trees. I don't know if you ever saw that picture.
Yeah, I have a picture of
Oh,
that.
have you? And it was just lovely, you know.
It
and
was.
well, it's again, it's part of Rouses Point passing away, so to speak. And we're not here only to talk about the Saxony. We're here to talk about, you know, Mark Chapman and the Saxony Recording Studios, I think it's called. Now, there were some other members in the triads that you told me locally. Who else was in your triads?
Well, one of the first members after we were a three-piece band to join us was Tom Mera.
From here
from
in the
Rouses
community?
Point. He played guitar and keyboards. Real good player.
Yep. And how long did your triads go on as a band here?
12 years.
And did you travel and do gigs, I guess you call it, someplace else? Is that what I call it? Hey, I didn't prepare for this either, but I heard my son or my daughter mention that they had a gig, all right?
Yeah.
And you went out to other places? How far of an area were you covering?
We played mostly Vermont and Canada. We played in Montreal several times.
Yeah.
And Vermont, Canada, New York State mostly.
Do you find, I've heard stories, but do you find that people that came here and liked your band will follow you when you go to another night to another location?
Oh, yeah.
And they do follow bands, right?
Yeah, we had a good following.
Yeah. Do you have? Is it really true you have to have a swatter and keep hitting the girls away at these places like this? Huh?
Well, I don't.
You're not prepared for that question, are you? Huh?
You could ask Rick about that.
All right. Okay. We're going to go up into the studio and talk about their and see your studio where you do recordings, and you do record recordings. Obviously, you make a master here and you send it away to have records made.
That's right.
For different groups.
Tapes and records, CDs.
Okay. Before we go upstairs, is there anything else you want to talk about right here that we should know about?
Well, maybe a little bit about
Okay.
the band that I'm in partnership with now. It's a group called 8084, and they play all over New England as well. And they not only New England, but they go along
You're a
the
partner.
West
Do you
Coast.
play with the band?
No, I don't. We're just partners in the studio together.
They got the music, you got the money?
Well, that's the way it's supposed to work.
All right. We're going to go up in the studio, and we'll be right back to you. But I want to remind you, you're watching What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn. I'm here every Sunday night with one location or a person or another, and we're talking with Mark Chapman, the owner, I guess you'd say, the owner of Saxony Recording Studios.
Yes.
All right, and we'll be right back. Thanks for watching.
Our resident pigeons.
We're giving you a view of the eastern side of Lake Street that you've never seen before, unless you've been in an airplane. We're on the roof of the wooden frame building that was behind the original Saxony Hotel, and we're looking at our stone building. A pigeon's eye view, yes, and I'll tell you something else. If you saw our Delagar show, and I told you there was a fifth person in the room, it was a fly, and I kept swatting, well, today it's a little bit worse. There's some bees up here, or hornets. So if I just disappear, you'll know that I ran out the back way here. But as you look across, you see the beautiful shoreline on the Vermont side. There's the island over there with the 4 or 5 houses at Chimney Point. I think they call that Chimney Point.
Windmill Point.
Windmill Point. Well, that was pretty close, though, wasn't it? Eh? All right, Windmill Point. Thanks, Mark. And then way across is the more of the Alberg shore, way over. The breakwater off to our right that we talked about with Dick Gaines on his show. That comes off from the Stony Point out there. That sticks way out in the water, doesn't it, Mark?
Some people walking along there.
Oh, come on, Mark.
Sure, you can see them right over there. Right toward the middle?
How do your eyes 20/20?
No.
My God, there's people walking on it, he says. I got a hard job to even see it. But we're looking at it, I must go out there 1,000 feet.
A long ways.
It's over 500. And way off, you see, it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. The pigeons are flying in the air all around us. And we're in a nice big area up here that's probably 80 by 40. I feel very safe in the middle. And Calvin's just getting you the shore here of Lake Champlain at Rouses Point. And as you look way over, you can see the remnants of the old railroad bridge, Mark. You remember that? You were here back when that bridge was working in '66. And then the new bridge, the Veterans Bridge, Korean Veterans Bridge.
That's a nice bridge.
It sure is. And then as you come closer to shore, you'll see the point of Gaines Marina, where we were a week ago. I mean, probably has been shown by this time. But we're not here just to look at the lake. We want to talk to Mark some more. And Mark, let's get back to Ed Sullivan. When was this appearance on Ed Sullivan?
It was the Christmas show in 1965.
And do you remember anybody else that was on that show that day with you?
Jack Jones was on there, Jim Brown, the football player, Marty Allen, and there was some other shows that were like a comedian type show that was on. I can't remember his name though.
Did you you want to see those hornets, Calvin? Just look right over there on that point. You see that little thing right there flying around? That is a hornet, I believe. And I'm glad he's that far away. We will not interview him. Did you happen to have a copy of that tape of that show? You never got a copy?
No, I wish I did have.
Oh, I'll bet you do, huh? What a great experience. And Calvin was mentioning on the long walk on these stairs up here, some 80 stairs or so, that you were also in a movie.
Yes, I was.
Oh, tell us about that.
I was an extra in The Great Escape.
Uh-huh.
I was over in Germany at the time, in Munich, Germany, and I heard about the film being made, and I was always curious about how films were made, so I went in to see if I could get a job as an extra, and I got lucky.
You got lucky. Did they pay you for something like that?
Yeah.
What's an extra get? Can you give us any idea? You got any
Back
recollection?
then it was about maybe $40 a day, something like that. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was...
You don't stand around all day.
No, we sat around most of the day.
You did sit around and they'd call you on as an extra, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were maybe on camera for a whole day's shooting, maybe 15 minutes.
You know, it's amazing when we watch a movie, we never even think about those people that are planted, so to speak, there, are paid to be there as that extra, right? You think they're just people standing around, but they're not. They're part of the cast, obviously.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people in the cast that people don't realize how many.
Well, Mark, you've had a very interesting career in addition to the Saxony Hotel, and I think Calvin mentioned, or you mentioned on the way up again, I was listening in, one of your band members went on to bigger band, is that right? You had somebody who went with the Rascals, or?
Well, that was in Sandu Scott and the Scotties. The drummer that took my place in the band played in the
Well, you
Young
played with that
Rascals.
band too? What was that?
No, I didn't play with the Young Rascals.
No, but
drummer.
the other one, with the Scotties, you played with that band
yes,
too? Yes,
that was the band that I went on the Ed Sullivan Show with.
Oh, all right.
He went on with her after that from the Young Rascals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was in.
Do you still play your drums?
Once in a while, I do.
Do your neighbors ever tell you that they know as soon as you do? You play loud?
They say I'm too loud.
Are you loud?
I'm loud enough.
My son beats the drum a little bit, and he was given some lessons way back by Tommy Marnes. He used to live here in town.
Sure,
Tommy was a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. When he was going to school with my son at St. Mary's, he used to come over and help Tom out. And then I think Tom got some lessons, at least a lot of direction from Dean Trombley.
That's
Dean
right.
with some more drums again, and some others around the area. Do you miss it?
I miss it a lot.
I'll bet you do, huh?
I get to play with my son now. He plays guitar a little bit.
Your son here with you?
Michael, yeah. He lives here in Rouses
How old
Point.
is he?
He's 16 now.
And you're teaching him drumming?
No, he plays the guitar.
The guitar,
Yeah.
all right. All right, well, let's just talk for a second while we're up here in this nice view before we go down into your studio. Tell us about 8084. What are they? Who are they?
They're a band out of Vermont that I met years ago when I had the club downstairs. They played here. And
So they've been in business for a while.
Yes, they've been playing for 8 years now.
Saw a big truck coming in with big numbers 8084 on the side.
Yeah.
Do they travel throughout the east or northeast?
Yes, they do. Northeast and south. They played Florida and all along the coastline in North Carolina, South Carolina.
And we're going to try to meet some of them downstairs, and we're going to watch you work on a recording, get some copies down in your studio.
Yeah.
And you can explain the studio when we're down there. Anything else you want to cover before we go down?
I don't think so.
Nothing else here that we can cover? I kind of hate to go in this beautiful day. That's what I guess I'm holding off here, but that's where we're going to go up. There's a table there. We didn't have breakfast yet, but we're going to be eating as soon as we get finished this short interview. Bob Venn with What's Going On Here, and remember, we're on Hometown Cable's on every night at 5, 8 p.m., 1 a.m., and then 9 the following morning with 4 showings of the same program every night. What's Going On Here with Bob Venn is on every Sunday night at 5, 8, 1 in the morning, and 9. And we hope you're enjoying this show. We're just starting. You're going to see some great equipment and some noise and some loud playing downstairs as we go down into the recording studio, the Saxony recording studio. Let's talk just one more minute. We talked to Ruth Letourneau, who popped in on us at the town garage, and she talked about the St. Patrick's that you had recorded here. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
So many people in at the...
Yeah, we had to put everybody downstairs because the upstairs studio was too small to fit everyone in, and that was in 1980.
Now, how do you work your equipment when you're upstairs and they're downstairs?
Well, I had a microphone connected so that we could.
But don't you have to see them?
No,
No, you don't.
because we weren't doing video. We were just doing an audio.
All right, yeah, and it's worked out well. I've got several copies of it at home, and I've given a couple, and Calvin's got one. As a matter of fact, from the time we left there to the time we got here, Calvin had a few shots of the tearing down of your building in the front.
Oh, yeah.
And while that was being done, he played one of the recordings that you did that day by the St. Patrick's Choir.
Oh, he did?
Very much, yeah.
I enjoyed doing that recording.
And you got a VCR?
Yes, I do.
You'll have a copy of this. You'll be able to enjoy yourself on TV again.
All right.
All right, let's go downstairs. Stay with us. Hi, we're up in the recording studio now here at the former Saxony Hotel area where we're talking with Mark Chapman. And before we get into what all this is up here, we understand, Mark, that some time ago there was a video made here for TV.
Yes, Channel 5 did a video here of a band named The Race back in 1985.
And that's about 4 to 5 minutes, I think. It was done right here in the studio, or downstairs here.
Right.
And we're going to see that right now, and after that's over, we'll be right back to you. You're watching What's Going On Here, Bob Venn, and the focus today is Mark Chapman and the Saxony Recording Studios.
You're on.
Here's what we're looking at, folks. It says right here, Coors Extra Gold Draft presents 8084. There are the four in the band, 8084. Andre McCara, Randy Smith, Frank Barnes, and Scott Mitchell. You know these people enough, Mark, to tell us who we got between us?
Yes, this is Frank Barnes.
Hi, how you doing?
Frank, and it says here that Frank Barnes is the bass, lead, and backup vocal.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, tell us a little bit here about this nice ad you just gave me here. I guess you'd call that an ad. It's a handout for Coors.
Yeah, it's a handout.
What happens to Coors? How do you get involved with Coors?
Coors, they came to see us down in Florida. We were playing down in Florida, and a lady from the company showed up and said, you guys are pretty good. We'd like you to represent the company. They sponsor about 18 bands all over the country. And we said, sure, sounds good to us. They give us promo like this, and T-shirts and jackets and money and beer.
Does anybody
like
else? You represent anybody else like this? This is your sole sponsor?
Well, no, we're sponsored by a guitar company as well, out of Burlington, Vermont, a guitar company called Scholl's Guitars. Our drummer has sponsored by a drumstick company, Vic Firth Sticks. There's a number of people that we're involved with in that.
Okay, so when you're at playing a gig, I sound like a musician, don't I?
You're sounding hip there,
You're
Bob.
playing a gig. Do you have anything on at that time that says Coors?
A lot of times we will. We'll put a banner up behind the band.
Okay.
It says Coors Extra Gold 8084.
And this is normal? A lot of bands that do this, Mark?
No, not a lot of bands. They're the exception. They were one of the lucky ones.
Are the good ones?
Yes.
That's one of the
good
reasons,
ones.
right? They don't
Yeah.
just want to sponsor anybody.
Definitely.
Well, how long have you been with the band?
I've been with the band. We started almost 8 years ago.
And that's when the band started, 8084?
8084.
You're one of the grandfathers? You're the older one here?
Pretty much. Well, the band was together about 3 months before Andre and myself joined, and then Randy was already here, and then that was the core of the band. That band stayed the same with Randy and Andre and myself and 2 other people, right up until our original drummer quit about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And so now then we get Scott on drums, and then Charlie, the actual founding member of the band, Charlie Hawthorne, he passed away last Christmas in a car crash.
How old was he?
He was 36.
Just getting
35,
started.
36.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
You ever wish you could get in this band with those drums of yours?
Sure.
Huh?
I always like to play.
Do you ever get in with them at all? Or do you travel with them at all?
No, I don't
You
travel with them.
But all right, so what are you doing here now? What is you're all up here? You didn't come just to be on TV today.
That's right.
We knew you were here. That's why we're here. All
Right. Well, the band, I don't know if I guess you know about this already. The band and Mark are partners here in the studio
Okay.
part of
All right.
Saxony. And we come here when we're not traveling around the country, which we do most of the time, but we come here and write our new songs for our next album project. And we record here and do our demos, and that's what we're doing here. We're in the midst of writing and recording.
Okay. And one of the things I've heard on one of these breaks we've had is that, and unknown to me, you don't get 4 people out here all playing your instruments at the same time and somebody singing and record it in the other room.
Not when we're recording, no.
Not when you're recording.
When we're rehearsing, we all, you know, it's
Okay.
handy to have everybody right there, but
Okay.
but when we're recording, we all pretty much do it one at a time.
Okay, then we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back to you. I want to remind you we're at the Saxony Recording Studios and we're featuring today Mark Chapman and his partners there in the music, the 8084. And we're hearing cracking with the lights in behind Calvin. Calvin with the camera, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. All of these people here are on that promo except one. That's me. I don't get paid. These guys are guys that are sponsored by Coors. Look at them all here. We got them the smiling faces, and my hair isn't quite long enough to be on in this group either here. All right. All right, Frank, tell us what we got here. Who are our first one? Andre.
Andre McCara.
All right, Andre, what is your job in the band?
I play lead guitar and this.
And this, what is this?
You got me. It's a mixing console for the studio.
All right, we'll get into that later on. How long have you been with the band?
Oh, about 8 years now.
8 years? You're one of the originals.
Yep, that's right.
Oh.
Well, I came in 3 months after.
All right, well, we'll call you one of the originals.
Semi-original.
All right, okay, and where are you from?
I'm from Norwich, Connecticut.
You're not a Vermonter. Everybody
I
else
am now. I've been here over 7 years, so that
makes you a Vermonter?
I'm a naturalized Vermonter now.
Yeah.
He owns a pig also, so
I
that
own
makes
a
him
pig.
proud.
Uh-oh. You got to have a cow in Vermont. You have more cows than people.
Oh. Well, I'll look into the charter, but I think
Right.
pigs count too. It's livestock.
Right.
It falls under the heading of livestock.
All right. Any of you guys married?
Oh yeah.
You're married. You're
Week and a
married?
half now.
Okay. Oh, week and a half. What do you do now when you go away? How long are your trips?
Too long.
Okay, how long is it?
Six week is an average run.
And you go and
when we're
before you
just
come
gone
back?
before we come back. Yeah.
What do your wife thinks about this? She doesn't know yet. It's only been a week and a half.
She's very impressed by the
But
entire
you're
process.
going to have a vacation while you're gone, huh?
Yes, this is my honeymoon. How do you like it?
Oh,
This is
well,
my
yeah.
honeymoon
Well,
suite.
you're home here, sure. Is she here?
Yeah,
Anywhere?
she's getting ready for the next mix down.
All right. And who do I have here?
Randy Smith.
And Randy, I remember you're the singer, right? Lead,
That is correct.
vocals, right?
That's correct.
Any instrument you play too?
I play some keyboards.
Okay. And how long have you been with the band?
I'm the only original from the beginning, the very
Oh,
beginning. Well, these
you're-
guys we call these guys original.
Get that extra 3 months.
I got that extra 3 months.
Are you a Vermonter besides?
I live here now, but I'm not originally from.
Whoa. You're not here in Vermont. This is New York State.
Oh well, yeah, but we're right on the line, so I was confused.
Oh,
so.
all right. God, I didn't get my
No,
papers
I'm a
when I left the
Vermonter.
country there for a minute.
No, I'm a Vermonter now.
You're a Vermonter now. And you're married? You
That's
said,
correct.
Right? How long have you been married?
About a year.
What does your wife think about all this traveling?
She's very impressed with it also.
She's impressed with it.
She figures
Oh,
it's
I
a way
wish
for me
they
to get
were
out of
here
the
to
house.
answer these questions.
Well, she can clean the house when I'm gone. 'Cause I'm
All right. And our fourth one.
I'm Scott Mitchell. I'm the drummer in the band.
Yeah, I think I talked to Frank earlier. You've been here 2 years as a drummer.
Approximately, yep.
Right? And you're from Vermont?
Springfield, Vermont.
What's the population of Springfield?
One less
One
now.
less than Scott.
One less, yeah. I'm sure they
800?
they appreciate that. No, I think it's between 10 and 12.
It's not like Champlain.
On a
huh?
good day.
On a good day, huh?
Day, right. Tourist season.
Yeah.
Tourist
Well, what did you guys all take lessons in your to be a drummer? Did you take lessons?
Oh yeah. I started banging on pots and pans. My parents decided to put some kind of rhyme or reason to it and made me take lessons. They bought me a pad and so on.
Mhm.
I've been taking lessons.
How old were
ever
you
since.
then?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. 10.
All right, you're back. And Randy? Randy. Andre, rather? Yeah.
Well, I tried to take guitar lessons, but I had a guitar teacher tell me I had no aptitude for music or the instrument, so I decided maybe I shouldn't take lessons.
Well, if you take this with a grain of salt, folks, but if you don't know music well, you're not going to be good. Get out in a rock and roll band.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we older people
Yeah,
say.
well, see, we like to think of ourselves as being unencumbered by the fetters of musical prowess. We just play.
Does it bother you when I talk like that? Say, if you don't know music, you could get in a rock and roll band.
No.
Just that I better be watching. The next break, you're going to take care of me.
Well, no, you know what it is. It comes back to the laughing all the way to the bank syndrome.
Great for you.
We'll wave to you while we're driving it.
Good comeback. Good comeback. And Randy, how long you been into music?
About 15 years now, and I study with a vocal coach. I have an opera coach that I've been working with for about 3 or 4 years.
What happens to former rock and roll people?
They
They become agents.
All right,
booking agents.
now, I'm serious. But what?
Very serious. They become booking agents. They become car salesmen. They become a myriad of things. Producers. They produce records.
Because it is a trend. It's very trendy, right? I mean, how long can you expect to be as a band? 8084. How many years? 20 years? Is that?
I'm trying to think what the limit is.
They keep changing the rules.
Yeah,
They keep changing the rules.
But I'm thinking of the Beatles who were at the very, very top, and then they just said they don't even want to be together anymore, right? Today they say
Some people
still
grow
going.
apart.
they're still going. Oh yes, individually.
Once you're into
right?
music and once you have a love for it, I mean, you may not stay with the same
Right.
people, but you'll continue in other facets.
They'll go apart. Some people will go into jazz or just different facets of
Yeah.
music.
All right. Well, I just don't know much about your type of music at all, and I don't know much about music. Frank, when is you're here on a rest, so to speak, or a honeymoon or whatever?
Yeah, honeymoon.
When is your next trip or what do you call it? Tour?
October 1st, which is Monday.
Oh, that's right, coming up.
Yeah. We'll be gone probably. By the time this airs, we'll be somewhere in Alabama or something like that.
And how many shows have you got planned?
We'll be gone. Well, we'll be gone about 45 days, and we'll be playing
About a
about
million.
42 shows.
Are they all scheduled ahead of time?
Oh,
here?
yes.
You're all scheduled,
Yeah.
huh? Who does your booking and who does your the planning for you? Are you that you, or do you have somebody else that does that, or is
Well,
that Mark?
no.
Mark's sitting back. Look at Mark over here, Calvin. Look at how relaxed he looked. Look at this. He said, "I had my turn." Look at that. See? So who does this for you?
Well, I'm the liaison between the band and the agents and managers and whatnot.
Okay.
But we're booked by a Showtime agency out of Raleigh, North Carolina. They handle most of our, especially our traveling far away work. When we're locally, Vermont, New Hampshire, we work with Roadshow from Williston, Vermont.
Okay. Do you play fairs? Or is that?
We play fairs. We do really well at
Okay.
fairs. We love fairs.
I would think you'd do very well at fairs. That you're. What's the age group I have here? What is the age limit here? How old? 31?
No.
Oh, we go on and talk about their ages. Hey.
Hey, how old's Mick Jagger?
Oh, he's pretty old. All right.
100, isn't he?
All right. Listen. All right. Let me ask you.
Sure.
You talk about agents. They talk about agents getting 10 or 20% of your. You
Yeah.
have to pay an agent
Oh, yeah.
percentage, right?
Oh, yes.
All right. Is there anybody else you have to have for a band other than an agent and yourself? And you travel in your vehicle downstairs? Do you have cars besides that?
Well, we have a vehicle when we're off on a regular road trip. Where we're going on tour, we call it. We just take the one vehicle and a truck to carry the equipment. We have a road crew that handles all of our equipment for us. Yeah, we have. Besides the agent, we have. Well, at least for us, because we're a recording band and we sell our music as well as just our live performance. We have an attorney and we have a publicist. And these are all people on the payroll besides just the agent person. Bands can do it any way they want it. They can do as much of it themselves as they can handle. But we're on the road so much, or in the studio so much, that we can coordinate it, but we can't follow through on a lot of these
How many
things.
records have you had?
We've released 2 albums. So far, they've both been released in the United States and in Europe, most of Western Europe. Matter of fact, we sell more albums in Western Europe than we do in the United States.
Have you ever been abroad to play as a
No.
group yet?
No, but we've hung out with several.
You've hung out with several. Well, how are your albums doing? Are you satisfactory to you?
Okay, not they're not.
Let's show one of these up here.
Oh,
Here's an album.
This is Love and War.
Love and War,
This is
8084.
our second album
If you open it up, it's even got an album inside too.
It's got a.
Vinyl and
in
stuff.
3D.
All right. Let me. Now I want a question about this. Now then, is it hard to sell albums if they've never seen your group?
Sometimes, Europe's being the exception to the rule because they've never seen us, and we're doing great there. Holland and Belgium and England, we're doing. I have no idea why, but they just like us.
And 2
So-
fans in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, that's right. We've even crashed the Iron Curtain.
All right. What kind of a rock music do you play? There's hard rock. There's medium. I really don't understand it. What kind of rock would you say it is for the people who are watching?
Really good.
Really good.
Really good rock. But is it
Yeah.
Is it hard rock? Is that
No,
a
it's not very
passe?
difficult. It's not very difficult at all. It's
It's kind of
Yeah.
melodic hard rock.
yeah, it's
Melodic hard rock, you'd call it, huh? Nothing that I couldn't buy for my children.
Oh no.
No.
No, we don't write satanic things or anything like
You
that. We
don't?
do put
Alright.
the backward messages on, but it just says
just bad advice more than anything.
Don't
Yeah.
brush your teeth. Don't mind your parents. That kind of.
Well, there it is, right there, 8084. It says 8084 on the record. It says 8084 on the promotion. Right there.
Calling Frank. We just sold another 10,000 albums. Well, right. We'll send you another 20,000. No problem. Next week, I'll take it.
You were here when they got the big order, and we're going to get right back to you, and then we're going to try to show you what happened. Or maybe someone could explain to me while we're here. Frank, what happens, and we got a mixer. Why do you need a mixer? What happens out there? When you record, you said you don't all play at one time.
Right. We lay down, each individual lay their particular part down one at a time. We'll start with like the drum track, because that keeps the time through everything, and then we'll add the guitars, add the bass.
Okay, well, you're way ahead of me. Scott's going to go out there, and he's going to play without drums.
Right.
Right? Now, first of all, he's got like 3 pads with electronic drums.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
We're going to see him do that. And when you're doing that, you wear earphones, and you can hear the music the way it is.
Exactly.
And I think you're going to turn up so we can hear it like you do in the eardrums. We'll know. Is that correct? And then when you play that whole song, it'll be recorded in here someplace. And then you will be lead guitar. Is that what you said?
Okay.
Lead
I'll do
guitar.
the guitar.
And you're going to play the guitar right straight through the same way without hearing his song at all?
I'll hear him.
You will hear him.
Recorded track.
Okay, you will hear him as you're listening.
The
Okay.
tape of him.
So you've got to follow a little bit here.
Yep.
Now, the third person is going to be you. You'll be in there, right?
Yep.
And you'll hear both of them when you play it?
Or if I want to, or I could just hear either one.
Either one of them. Then you'll play your part at the same time. And then you are also playing an instrument and vocal?
No, on this particular song, I think we're working on, there were no keyboards, so I just will
Okay.
probably sing.
You'll sing, and will you hear one of the 3 of them? Or
I have to
2
hear
of
them all at the same time.
You
I
will
can-
hear all of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
All right. Then when all of that is down, the only one being recorded will be you, then you'll be recording you, and then you separately. There'll be 4 separate recordings in here. And then someone, you are the mixer, will put all of these together and bring all 4 and make a new, is it a master at that point?
Yeah.
Or is that just another recording and then you make a master later?
You go back and...
Where am I, Mark? Am I right so far?
Yes, yeah. You mix down the 2 tracks.
Oh, wait a minute. Whoop, just a second here.
You don't just...
Tell
Oh,
us-
sorry, Mark. Didn't mean to do
Oh,
that.
excuse me. Tell us again about that now here.
Mark's being casual in the corner there.
Well, basically what you do is you take the multiple tracks and mix them down to a 2-track recording, and then that's what they call a master, like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch tape.
But when they take those 4 individual ones, you put them all onto a 2-track,
That's right.
and that's not the master yet, or it is the master?
That is the
That is the master. And then, how many times when you make that master are you finished, or do you have to go back and do this all over again because of something that happened? Or
Well, basically, if you have a master, you have a copy made of it so that you don't have to.
but once, well, first of all, when Scott does his drum, first of all,
Yes.
will you listen to that first and see whether his is going to be acceptable?
That's basically what you do.
Beginning?
You take each instrument and break it down.
And then check, make sure there's everything the way you want it.
That's right.
Because the way I just did it, you're all done in an hour, and there's no such thing, right?
No, it takes a lot longer.
How long would it take you to make a record, once you start here to finish, to get that master? An example.
If you're working on one basic song, it can take anywhere from 4 hours to 20 hours, depending on the complexity of the song.
I thought this music bit was all simple and easy and just a great thing. Isn't that easy?
We just make it look easy.
All right. Listen, we're going to take a break and get right back. I can't believe I understood this so far. We'll be right back. You're watching What's Going On here. Our focus today is the Saxony Recording Studio. This is Mark Chapman. We just talked to the 8084 band. We also got 2 other people in this studio here that are enjoying me talking. We'll have to find out who they are, too. We got a couple new experiences today. One is talking to a band, and the second one is working with a light. This is quite dark in the studio, and Calvin has a portable light on his camera. Scott Mitchell, the drummer. And
Yes.
Scott, what we want to do is to more or less go through it the way we talked about it in there. They say, well, you
Okay.
do your thing, it'll be recorded in there eventually, and then we'll go down the line. Now, these are pads. Don't tell me exactly what they have. We're going to show you what he's doing. Now, you're going to put your earphones on. And where I thought he was just hitting a pad that would just get him the rhythm, it's not that at all. So whatever he's doing here, he's going to hear himself playing here on his earphones.
Right. I just
Okay, just go ahead and play anything you want. Just. Now that don't sound very interesting to me here. Keep it on going. It don't sound very interesting to me, but there's an awful lot going on there, folks, that we don't hear. And I was kidding earlier that when he gets to play it well, it'll give him the real drums, which is behind us here. But that's not the story at all. We'll show you what he's hearing. Okay. Sure. Now, can you turn that up for us, and we'll hear what we just heard. And he'll do it over again. Okay, I had to plug this in. He's going to plug in his amp. This is all what they call electronic drums, folks. And there's several reasons for this. You get what I'm telling you? Now, we're going to hear from the speakers what he's been hearing in his ears. Not quite so loud. It wasn't, but all right, go ahead. Okay. Same thing, all right? Okay, now can you tell us what we just saw?
Okay.
What are we talking about?
These are electronic drums. What they are basically are triggers. There are no sounds in the drums. All they are is rubber pads, obviously, so I can hit them. And there's triggers in the pads. The trigger sends an electronic pulse down to the cords.
Yes.
Which go to a trigger interface.
Can you just move around here with your legs sideways here, just so we can see?
Sure, into a trigger interface. Now, this has 9 triggers in it. I only have 4 set up. Then it goes from the trigger interface, which reads the reading that I'm sending. It reads the signal, which takes the signal into the drum machine. Okay, which is
so the sound is actually coming out of this other unit right here.
Right. All it is before is just an electronic symbol until it signal until it comes to the machine.
And that's what's making all the noise.
The machine has the sounds.
Great music, I meant, right here, correct?
Right. Wonderful music.
Wonderful music. And now, when you hit the pad in different spots, is it different sounds?
It's a different sound.
Ah, so if you hit in the middle, it's one. You hit off to the left or the right?
Well, you mean the pads in different spots?
Yes.
Okay, well, it usually depends on how I have the trigger set up.
Yes.
Okay, on some pads, I don't have a pad with me, but I have a pad that has 4 different triggers on it. This pad only has 1 trigger. Okay. Yep.
Okay, let's
some
do it.
pads will have 4 triggers. One in the center, which would be here, and then here, 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 and here. And I could have those different triggers set up to different notes. Okay. I don't have that one here. But
all right.
That's
turn this way again so you can face toward us as you're telling me.
Sure.
All right. Now, my obvious question would be to you, although you told me before, I want you to tell me again.
Sure.
Why in the world would you do this when you got the real thing right behind you?
Well,
why are you going to drink mixed water when Coors is available? there's the real thing. Why is that?
Well, in a recording situation, as you'll see later, it's such a sticky situation with sound. Everything has to be perfect, okay? And with drums, they're an acoustic instrument, and there's so many variables, okay? With the drum, there's the shell, obviously, the heads, which are these things here, what you hit on,
right?
And there can be different kinds of heads, thicknesses. The shell can be made out of different kind of wood, even fiberglass. Different plies. How many plies will have a big influence on the sound. The size of the drums, they have different sizes here. So with acoustic drums, there's thousands of variables in getting a good sound out of the drums. Okay.
You're telling me that it's hard to record.
It's hard to record
when you're making a recording.
Acoustic drums, because what you hear here may sound good. You put a microphone on it, it goes in there, and you hear the slightest little things that your normal ear wouldn't pick up, but the microphone is picking up.
And you don't want it.
And you don't
so
want
you're
it.
doing it this way.
So what you do is you purchase a machine that has good sounds so that you can record the sounds. So,
and this is only used when you're recording.
Yeah,
it can be
used. People use electronic drums in live situations.
They
also.
do.
Yes, they do. They have a trigger which would be set on the drum, so that when they hit the drum.
Let me get you on here. We'd get you on TV. That's all right. No, we want to get you on TV, not just the side of your back of your head. Now, is there much difference to you to play this and then to get into a real drum?
A big difference. It's a huge difference. They feel funny. They're plastic. They're plastic and rubber pads.
Can you play as well?
When I get used to them, yeah. I've only had this pad kit for about
a month and a half now.
And you leave it right here. You never take it with you on a trip?
No, I take it with me. I put
Oh,
it in
you
hotel
do?
rooms to practice.
Oh, you do practice on it?
Because as you
with
can
this,
see,
and you
right,
go.
I have to haul all this stuff with me.
Yeah.
And at home, also, a lot of things times these are used for practicing at homes because people live in apartments.
Ah,
and you can't
okay,
have a drum
yeah.
set like this because of the volume.
My son always wanted to be a drummer. I could have got him one of these, and only he would have heard what he was doing, and I wouldn't have heard him boom, 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 right?
Right, exactly.
Would I be able to afford what that unit is right there?
It depends on your budget.
Well, how much of a budget would I need, Scott?
Oh, boy.
Give me, are we
Okay.
talking thousands?
Yes.
Oh, that's enough. It's out of my budget.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
So
not
now,
thousands.
are we actually going to have you record something in there now, or have you already done it, so we don't have to
I've
do it?
already done that.
Okay,
I've
so
already done that.
we'll show how it works later.
Yep.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else that you can tell me about what we just saw that I have not covered
I'm trying to think. Not really.
that you think would be interesting to the people?
It's just that with these pads, you can program any sound into them. It depends on the sound source that you have. With the machine I have here,
So you can vary a different sound. Oh, you sure can.
I have different sounds. Get ready for this one. Whistle. You know, I have different sounds that I can just program to. With the pads, I can have any sound I want. And with modern technology, they have this thing called sampling. So you can, if you hear something, you can record it, and then you turn it into an electronic sound, digital. And because of that, I can trigger it through here, like a dog barking, a baby crying.
In music? When you're playing music, you want a dog barking? I thought you caused dogs to bark.
We do. Well, it's all up to artistic
Hey,
expression.
listen, moms out there, if you think these guys are making your children what you don't want them to be, these are nice guys.
That's right.
Listen,
that's right. 808-4 is a good band.
Listen, when I saw the long hair, I said, I'm not going to get along with these guys. This is nice
no.
guys right here.
No. Oh,
and
no.
we're very pleased to be here with the band called 8084. And we'll be right back. Okay, we're out in the recording studio again. We have Randy Smith. He's the vocal and the keyboard, you said?
That's right.
Keyboard. But he's going to sing now, and all that'll be happening, all we're going to hear is Randy singing into the microphone, which will be recorded in the other. He's hearing the music that he's singing to at that point. Have I explained that
That's
all right?
correct. That's correct.
Anything else you want to tell me about that?
No, basically this is what it sounds like. I mean, you do each track. You're in a room like this because you want it to be separate and isolated from
Okay.
everything else, so you have more control over it when you mix it.
All right.
So it's on, this vocal will be on one track and one track only.
All
and
right.
then we just, you can just fix parts if you mess them
Okay,
up.
just going to be
I'm
a
just
very...
gonna do one little section.
One little section of a song, and then we'll hear what happens to it later.
Okay.
Randy Smith,
You don't have to hold that too close.
one of the 8084.
Go ahead.
8084.
B section. Though my feelings are strong, God, they make me feel weak. I can't take it much longer. I'm adrift off your shore. Won't you throw me a line or just a little bit more? That's it.
That's it. That's what he's recorded, and that's all you hear is Randy. No music here.
Wasn't it wonderful?
It was wonderful. Why do you have the band with you?
I don't know.
You could just go out there and sing.
Yeah, I just carry them around because they're good looking. You know.
Can they hear what we're saying?
Yeah.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble.
No, they need me. You know.
All right. Okay, we're going to go.
I can hear it.
Yeah, we can hear it. You want?
See, and then
See if
can
you
play
want.
it
You want to
back.
hear it and see.
Well, then you can play it back.
Okay, play it back.
Want to hear that and play back?
Sure.
Play
go ahead,
that back.
play it
Well, listen, we got our. Well, you can see we got our mic to the earphones.
Ready?
Okay.
Yep.
You want to run that back?
Yes,
Run it
please.
back.
Okay, we'll listen to that.
We're going to listen to what he just sang. It's on the. This is from the track now. And the music you're hearing is what he was hearing in the background.
There you go.
Okay, that's it. That's what we'll just heard. We're going to go into the actual mixing room now. I guess with the actual headquarters of the center right in here. I don't know if you can see through the
It's like the brain control.
the brain control in here. Andre with the brain control. You can see through the window. It's located here. We're on the third floor of the Saxony and Rouses Point, the corner of Champlain and Lake Street. Our focus today is recording music and 8084 and Mark Chapman sitting in front of the window, which we probably can't see him with the light behind him. He knows where to sit. What you're hearing is the recording of the drums that Scott did for us out before. And it came in here, it was recorded on a 1 track.
2 tracks, actually.
2
Stereo.
tracks, because of stereo, right?
Yep.
This is the part that he done.
That done?
Okay, now, can we hear just Randy singing?
Okay, we'll go back to the section he just did.
How do you get back to that? You got a memory that brings us back to where you want it, right?
Here, yeah.
Okay.
Build up my vocabulary.
Right to the right, same point.
Feel weak, I can't take it much longer.
This is Randy singing with no music.
I'm adrift off
He
your
was hearing
shore.
music, but there was no music. It was picked up.
Just a little bit more.
Okay, now can you put those 2 together? Do they go together? All right. Now we're going to hear the mix. Scott on the drums and Randy when he was singing together at the same time.
While you're tearing through
Just
my
those 2, right?
Yep.
No accompaniment by the keyboard or anything else.
Though my feelings are strong, God, they make me feel weak. I can't take it much longer. I'm adrift off your shore. Won't you throw me a line or just a little bit more?
Okay. Now, what would happen, am I right, Andre, is that you'd do the same with the lead guitar
Yep, all
and
the
then
instruments.
anything else, any other instruments.
Everything goes down on a separate track.
And then you got them, let's say drums,
Background vocals.
bass, right on
guitar,
down. And then you can then mix all these together the way you want them,
yeah. Everything at the right level.
at the right level. And can you change any one of them to make it louder or less?
Oh yeah, that's what these sliders are for. They change the volume of everything, and you can change the actual tone of it by you shape the actual tone. You can make something appear to be more present by adding or taking away reverb.
This is a whole vocation in itself right here, just the board. You do this, Mark, too? This is what you do, huh?
In fact, I'll show you something right here, just quick here.
Though my feelings are strong, God, they make me feel weak. I can't take it much longer. I'm adrift
He's
off
accompanying
your shore.
himself.
Won't you throw me a line
cavern.
or just a little bit more?
Okay, and now, when this is all done, I think someone said you go back and you get the chorus, or I should say the chorus, but the accompaniment.
Yeah.
The other you fellas all join in, and that's separate also on a separate track.
Everything's on a separate track.
Then you bring that back in and you mix it in.
Yep.
Terrific. Unbelievable. But this is what happens in a recording studio, and you have it right here in Rouses Point, New York. We got a couple of recorders going right here. There's a Sanyo up here, and there's a Sony underneath. And that's a disc player, I guess, underneath. It's not a VCR. I should know the difference, Mark. A CD player.
Yes.
All right, Mark, anything else at what we're talking about that you want to add to this conversation?
I don't know if you want to hear a total mix with all the instruments and everything.
Yes, let's give it a small one of those.
All right.
Do it with just the 2, then add in one at a time. Can you throw them in and just as we see the difference?
Sure.
We'll take it right from. In fact, we'll take it right from the beginning here,
Okay.
or pretty close to the beginning.
Lots of 1, 2, 4, 5. There must be 80
tracks.
buttons. How many?
There's a million buttons. And
Yeah,
12 tracks.
yep, and there's all kinds of...
Start with the drums here. At the bass. We'll
That's
take
a
the
new
voice.
one.
Yep. Drums and bass. Rhythm guitar. We'll add the vocal in now.
Then you say,
Now, if you don't think that's all being done at one time right out there, I defy you to know what's happening. You can do it to about anything you want.
Oh yeah.
I could sing, you could put me right in with that band.
Yep.
Not too likely.
We saved the track for you.
Thanks a lot.
though my feelings are strong, God, they make me feel weak. I can't take it much longer. I'm adrift off your shore. Won't you throw me a line or just a little bit more?
Oh, that? Okay, now is this song going to go on record? Are you going to record this?
Well, what we do basically is we're in the process of writing for the third album. What we'll do is we'll stockpile a collection of songs, and we'll go to we'll try to solicit responses from different people, our agencies and our our lawyer and different people we work with and try to select the 10 or 15 best songs.
What do you mean you're a lawyer? Why was your lawyer interested in this?
Well,
Make sure you don't infringe on something?
no, he's a music business lawyer who would actually be involved in shopping the material to a record company.
Oh, right.
So he has his finger on the pulse of what the record companies are interested in and what they're buying.
So this is a brand new song?
Brand new song.
Nobody else has heard this?
No.
I feel privileged.
Yeah.
I am privileged.
Yeah, there you go.
I am.
Yeah, you're the outside the band. You're the first person to hear it.
Second. He was with me.
Well, that's true.
And he's closer to the camera.
Well,
but I got the mic.
You're closer to the speaker.
And I got the mic, right? Hey, listen, I really appreciate very much your taking this time to do something so basic to you, but it's so kind of complicated to me.
It's like anything you do. It becomes second nature, you know.
I'm sure.
There's an artistic part of you, then there's just a purely mechanical part. And once you have the mechanics of everything down, then you just rely on the artistic part of it.
Okay, so you say, oh, Randy, you sounded terrible. So you go back out and he sings it again.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And you say, now you got it, right? Then you come back in and you just got to change that one part. You don't have to, everybody has to record over again.
No, that's the beauty of having multi-track. It was invented by Les Paul.
Les Paul?
Yeah. Years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can just layer all the tracks.
All right, we'll take a short break and get right back to you. We've got a couple other things in store for you, and I got to find out what those are, and I'll be right back. You're watching What's Going On Here. This is Andre, and behind us is Mark Chapman, and it's the Saxony Recording Studios. I'll bet you didn't know this was right here in Rouses Point. We're still in the room with the mixer, and we have two new faces here, and they're not on the picture, but they certainly are part of this crew, I understand. And first of all, I'd like to know who you are, sir?
Daniel Cooper.
That's a local name?
Yes, I'm born and raised right here in Rouses Point.
Okay, and?
Jeff Stalker.
Where you from, Jeff?
El Paso, Texas.
You came a long way to meet me. Huh?
I've been waiting for this day, actually.
Have you now?
It's something that I've been looking forward to all my life.
How long have you been with the group?
2 years.
And?
I don't know, 6, 8 months now.
You have. Now, what is your title? What are your crew members? What do you call it? Crew members?
Yeah, we're both members of the crew. There's 3 of us actually in the crew.
Who's the third?
Scott Gothier. He's from Barrie, Vermont. He's home right now.
Now, all right, what does that mean? Now, you're here now. Now, they're leaving on the 1st.
Yeah.
Taking a trip south.
Yeah.
What are you going to do that day?
We're going to leave with them.
All right, well, yeah, but you're just going to leave. You're going to do something. You're going to drive?
Well, we're going to drive to Pennsylvania, and we're going to set the show up.
All right, with the truck?
Yeah.
All right.
We ride in the truck.
And who loads the truck? Do they help you load? They help you load it?
We do all the load.
They don't do any lifting? Those guys don't do any lifting?
No, they do all the work
Singer
on
can't
stage.
do any lifting, but the rest of them could. Huh? So how do you get all this downstairs? You're on the 3rd floor.
We're on the 4th floor. We have an elevator.
Oh, we're on the 4th floor? No. I'm lost. You have an elevator.
Yeah.
You carry it over to the elevator. Do you put this in boxes of some kind?
Yeah, they go in cases. They have each instrument has its own case it fits right into. And
All right, I'll ask the hard questions over here. How many cases are there?
Well, we got 6 tons of gear.
6 tons that you bring?
6 tons.
Do you have spares?
We got a few spare of this and that, but not too much, no.
What do you do on a trip if something breaks?
Fix it.
Are you a fixer too?
Yeah, I fix things.
You fix things.
Yeah.
Do you fix things?
sometimes
Which guy in the band breaks it most?
the drummer.
Andre. I thought it'd be Andre. Really, I thought it'd be Andre.
Andre's pretty good.
Huh?
Andre's pretty good.
I didn't think Scott was rough like that at all.
Yeah,
No.
he's pretty rough.
He
Pretty
is.
rough.
Well, all right. So you've been 2 years, you said.
Yep.
And when were you last in El Paso?
Actually, about 3 weeks ago.
104 degrees.
It was 106.
106.
Yeah.
You were glad to get back to Rouses Point.
Yeah, it was a lot cooler up here. It was nice.
You
nice
work
to be back.
you work all year, 52 weeks.
Well,
Except for vacation?
Yeah, well, we had a vacation, for the past couple of weeks and stuff. So most of the time we're working every day.
You enjoy the traveling?
It's fun. Have a good time. Meet a lot of interesting people.
I'll bet you do. Any uninteresting people?
There's some
yeah?
you don't want to remember.
I was gonna. What about you?
Huh?
You miss Rouses Point when you're on the road?
Not really till we get back.
Not till you get back. Then you one day. Listen, you're tough to get any place any nicer, unless you're in Vermont. You Vermonters here, and looking out at that lake, same lake, Vermont in here, correct? And tell me a little bit about what else do you do except when you say you're a crew member. What do you do when you get to a location?
Okay,
you're getting to a location. It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, see, there's 3 guys in the crew, and we all have separate jobs. I'm the live sound engineer, He's a stage manager, and our light man is Scott.
Oh, but someone's got to carry the stuff in.
Yeah, well, we all carry it in.
All carry it in,
And
all right?
then we each have separate jobs to do when we get all the stuff inside. I set up all the PA and the sound gear. He sets up all the stage gear, and our light man sets up.
You always set it up in the same place
We try.
on the stage, right?
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, a couple more questions only here, and then we'll take a break. And one question is, how many performances a day?
3.
3?
Usually 3 50-minute sets.
You mean all in the evening?
Yep.
And wow, what do you do all day? What does the crew do all day?
We work.
The band, we
I see. I'm pointing at the band.
Oh,
I said the crew. And he's listening to me though. See, what does the band do all day?
they usually
Do their thing.
whatever, you know.
But
sleep,
you
get ready
guys are
for the night.
working, and at night, are you there during a complete
Yeah.
performance, in
Yeah.
case something, moving things and so forth?
Uh-huh.
Right.
See, we perform as well as the band. She does monitor mixing. When they're on stage, they have the little speakers on the floor
You
out
know what
there.
you just said? Go ahead, finish up first. I'll tell you what you just said.
Oh.
You said you perform as well as the band. You
Yes.
perform just as well. You do just as well.
Well,
All right. I know.
I'm getting
Hey,
a little deep
I hope I'm not embarrassing you here. That's not my point. Mark's laughing over here.
Yeah.
He's always laughing when he's not on TV. See, he thinks it's great when someone else is getting the gun. All right. Well, listen, it's very nice talking. And there you got the member right there, 8084.
T-shirts.
And yes, my son recognized the name. He lives in St. Albans, and he knows 8084. He told me that. I didn't know what the crew's name was, or excuse me, not the crew, the group. You're the crew.
That's better. That's
All
the
right.
group. That's
Anything else that you want to tell me about a crew's job that I haven't asked you? That I don't know enough to ask you about?
That's about it.
It's a great job if you don't like to sleep.
Yeah.
You don't get much sleep?
No.
What,
Well,
4 hours?
take 4 hours to set up. It usually we're a couple hours before the show. We got to wait around, and 4 hours to do the show. 2 hours to tear down, and then we usually got to drive a few hundred miles.
Oh, I misunderstood something. What about this 50 minutes you talked? I thought your show lasted
Well, that's
50 minutes.
that's part of
It
the
lasts-
4 hours.
It's actually.
Oh, part of the 4 hours.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we do a 50-minute show, and we take a break. And
Oh, so
and
it's
take
4
a-
hours. It's 4 hours to set up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's 4 hours. That's a 12-hour day without everything
driving
in
anyway.
between. Well, listen, the money's good. You laugh all the way to the bank, they tell me.
Not the crew.
Not the crew? Oh, come on,
not
they
the
do.
crew.
All right, well, listen, guys, thanks much, eh?
No problem.
It was a pleasure talking to you,
Thank
and I'm glad that you got the shirt on here of the of our 8084. And what did yours say here? For the 5th birthday blowout, November. Is that part of the gig here?
Actually, some of the guys in the band were there. They it was a radio station in Burlington, and they had a big birthday party for him down there, and they had a bunch of national acts come in and
Terrific. We're at the Saxony recording studio with 2 of the crew members. 3rd one's not here. Is he camera shy? Just
No,
not here
he's
right
lazy.
now. He's sleeping.
Yeah.
He's resting ahead for the trip to start. How long will that trip take? When are you going to get back?
Before Thanksgiving, I believe.
Okay.
6 weeks.
Okay, 6
6
weeks.
weeks.
Have a good trip.
Thanks.
Thanks much, guys. Well, we just came downstairs. We're standing at what I would call the auditorium for the crew people. That's where they bring all this equipment that they carry down, come down on the elevator. It's packed in this big van, right?
Yeah.
And they take off in this, and they're driving to the next location. And there's the big 8084. 8084. Where did a name like that come from?
We don't know.
Oh, now, come on. What do you mean you don't know?
Well, the band, the name was thought up by our original keyboard player, who unfortunately got killed in a car accident.
Oh,
and,
Charlie.
And he took that with him.
And he never
told us.
did tell you what it was from. Well,
We have fun. We make up things, you know.
Yeah, well, you want to give us one you wake up?
I can give you some. I can't, but I think it's the number of feet of water the Titanic sank in.
Oh, well, that's nice. It can be anything at all. It's very catchy. Are there any other bands you know of that have numbers as a name? Completely.
Lately, trying to think.
Just numbers?
It's become a current fad, you know.
Sound like a car, you know, the RX-12
Yeah.
and all these. They can't give them names anymore. All right, you're playing. This is your guitar right here. Not very big as I know a guitar, and it's very shaped a lot different. Got a U.S. star on there. It looks like part of an airplane.
Yeah, it was the whole idea. Guitars are like an extension of your personality. You try to come up with something, and I worked with a luthier down in Burlington, Vermont, by the name of Glenn Scholes, and you can see up there.
Okay, and he makes these?
Yes, it's custom made. You can go down there and have anything made up. And
okay.
In fact, they've made it into a production model now.
How is this different than another guitar, say?
Well, besides the obvious, you know, the shape. And
oh, okay, the shape. All right, and that won't affect the sound, though, obviously.
It does to a point, but you know, the type of wood is mahogany.
Wood?
Maple. Yep, there's wood under there.
Oh, I thought that was a aluminum or something.
No.
That's what it's supposed to give the impression of.
It gives the impression. You know, it's showbiz.
It's showbiz. You got it.
Yeah, that's what it is. You know.
And there's a big A here. What's that stand for?
I think it's Andre.
Andre, yes. And we just got an autographed picture of the band upstairs. And big A for Andre. We said, "What's this?" And he said, "It's for him." And you're leaving the 1st, correct?
1st of October, yeah.
And till about Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
Then you come back and you'll be home a week and a half.
Yes, something like that.
Then you got schedule again, going out again.
Yeah, I think we'll be staying around to do some more recording, some more writing for the new album. So.
All right. Well, listen, is there anything else that I have not covered, Andre? Oh, just one thing. Lip syncing. And some of these things I've been hearing about a couple of the bands. When I go and see a band, or my children go see a band in Lake Placid, and they're playing on the stage, they may not even be hearing what they're playing on the stage. How is this possible? What are we talking about?
Well, it's an offshoot of what I was showing you in the studio there. When you have like a chorus or something, you can't sing a duet with yourself on stage. So you basically have to run tapes to sing along, and it's usually done with vocals as a general rule.
So there are times that when you see a singer, they're not really singing. Their mouth is going, but they're on stage, and I'm going to pay $14 or $20 to go see, they're not really singing.
Well, there's new legislation now where they have to tell you when they're not. When they're using taped and recorded
But
material.
it also happens with bands, too, right? I mean,
yeah.
the band is only faking it up there, too?
Oh, yeah, you have that a lot on television, that sort of thing.
This is so hard for the average layman like myself to envision, but you've never been accused of that?
Oh, we've been accused. See, if you look on my back here, I have a wireless transmitter on my guitar.
Okay.
So people are always saying, "You're not really playing."
Oh,
you know,
because there's no wire.
I'll come off stage and I'll continue playing.
Yeah.
So people go, "Well, you're not really playing."
All right. Well, all right. Let's get Mark over here and close out this session at the Saxony Recording Studio in Rouses Point. It's right in the old Saxony, what's left of the Saxony. And Mark and Andre, and I certainly enjoyed very much our trip here today. I've learned an awful lot. There were 4 members of the band. We've already talked to the others, Frank, Randy, and Scott. We've talked to them, and they're doing other things. And Andre was kind enough to come down here and show us the truck and wish us the best as we go off, too. And Mark, it's certainly been enlightening to me.
Thank you.
As a 24-year-old resident of Rouses Point, 24 years, not old, 24 years here in Rouses Point, right?
That's right.
And I don't think I've ever met you before, but I appreciate your time very, very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
And I hope that we hear a lot of 8084.
We'll be looking for your new album, too.
Oh, yeah. Watch us on TV. Hey, listen,
right.
You watch us on TV.
Okay, we can do that.
All right. Thanks. You've been watching What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn. We're on every Sunday night at 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 1 a.m. in the morning, and again on Monday morning at 9 a.m. And it's been great today to do this show about the Saxony's history, its present condition, its present. We're using 2 or 3 big rooms upstairs. That's all that the Saxony is being used for right now. Is that correct?
That's right.
But it's a very important 3 rooms, and people like 8084, partners with Mark Chapman. Thank you very much for watching. How can we get in touch with Mark? How do we get in touch with you, Mark?
We're in the phone book under Saxony Recording Studios.
Okay, so if somebody wants to record something himself, they can get in touch with you?
Sure.
Do you get much of that?
Yes, we do.
You told me you've got someone coming in soon?
Tomorrow.
And you want to mention the name? Are you allowed to mention the name?
Jim Rochester.
And he's going to do what?
He's going to do some country tunes.
And he'll be making a record, is he?
That's right.
We know Jim Rochester at Border Press. Don't forget, Border Press, Jim Rochester. Right. You see his ad here on Hometown Cable. And I had something else I wanted to ask Andre, and it slipped my mind here, but I've drawn a blank.
It's still slipping your mind.
It's still slipping my mind. I had something that I wanted to ask you. I guess that's not good. That's going to be it here at the Hometown Cable's version of What's Going On Here. Thanks very much for watching. We're at the Saxony Hotel in Rouses Point on the corner of Lake Street and Champlain. Mark Chapman right here, and 3 of these people, including me, are in a band. And you try to figure out which of these 3 people play in the band called 8084. We're standing in front of their truck. We've been here for at a recording studio, the Saxony Recording Studio, and tune in. It's coming Sunday night. You're going to find a lot of things that you don't know about recording songs, and listen to this fine group. 8084.